Hello, MavMind Collective, and welcome to another episode of the Hypnosales Show. Today, we're going to be understanding successorship. I have a previous video where I've talked about the steps to getting promoted. If you haven't watched that, you should go watch that if you're interested in being promoted. But I've had some subscribers and followers share with me the request. They've made a request for me to explain a little bit more about successorship, because maybe they haven't, they look to be promoted, but they may not be aware of what that means or how to do it. So I thought I would provide the steps today to talk about successorship and also kind of frame it in the right way so you can understand it at the conscious and the subconscious level and feel comfortable with the fact that most leaders within a company, and even yours, the company you work for, they're looking for leaders that they can promote. And they also, the higher up the ladder you go, up the organizational chart that you go when you're promoted, the more likely the leaders are expecting you to have a succession plan, what's called a succession plan. And they may ask you that at some point when you get to, manager, director, senior director, or VP level. The higher you go, the more likely they're going to ask you for a succession plan. And that means who is going to succeed you when you get promoted. In other words, don't make it my job to have to hire someone to backfill you. That's your job. You need to backfill yourself and have someone succeed you so we can promote you. So you become more promotable the higher level you go. So when I learned about this, I thought this was genius. I'm like, yeah, that's true. If I want to be promoted, I should do my manager, the leadership, a favor by helping them to know exactly the person that's going to succeed me, and I'm going to groom that person to succeed me, to take over for me when I move up. Okay? So there's different styles and strategies of doing this. There's no right or wrong way to do this. But I thought I would provide some steps in general so you can understand that it is a thing, and the higher level you go up the organizational chart, the more you're expected to have a succession plan and understand this idea of successorship, which is the idea that someone's going to succeed you. When you get promoted, they get promoted too. And if you're really high, then they're going to have someone that's going to succeed them, and you're asking them the same question. Who's going to succeed you when you succeed me? And it's like a stair-step chain, okay? Now, this is also assuming that you're hiring from within as well. Not all companies promote from within and hire from within into existing roles. Some companies actually make it a point culturally to hire from external. Now, I have found that in my experience, if the particular role that you have up the chain, as you move up the chain and up the ladder, the roles that you have below you that you're backfilling that you once had, the chances are really good that role is still going to be around. It's a long-term role. It's something that's you need in order for the company to function. So it's always, I think, safer to hire someone that's already at the company that already maybe understands the role really well, and you promote them into that role underneath you, and then they promote someone in underneath them. But at the lowest level, sometimes when there's no one left at the very bottom of the succession chain of the ladder, they probably need to hire an external person to replace them. So just keep that in mind as you're moving up the organizational chart, that the higher you go, typically you're going to promote from within unless you don't have anybody to promote into that role. Okay, so let's go over the steps here. I'm going to just go 1 through 5 here just to help you understand. The first step is you're going to have to find your successor. You need to identify who within your company is going to succeed you. So look within the company first. Find someone that's a peer to you, someone that's below you that reports to you maybe, that can maybe take over anyone that you think would be a good potential successor. Identify them, figure it out, write it down on paper, figure out what their attributes are, figure out what their track record is, why, try to figure out why. More importantly, what's the reason you would consider one person over another person to succeed you? What's the compelling motivation to bring that person into your role? Is it something they have that you don't, that they could bring and actually expand the role? Is it something that they already know how to do because you've been already working with them and they understand what they need to do, so it'd be really easy for them to just move right into your role and take over? Or is it giving someone an opportunity to potentially not leave the company to find another job, but to retain somebody, maybe having them succeed you? The reason might be because we don't want to lose that person, so we're going to let them succeed me and let them take over, so they have an ability to challenge themselves and to expand their skill sets by taking over the job that I currently have right now. So that could be a reason. Lots of reasons. You just want to identify, find the person, figure out the reasons why you would bring them in, and then start developing your plan. What's the plan? Like, in other words, what's the timing? What's the process you're going to go through? What steps are you going to take to get that person ready to succeed you, to take over for you, right? How are you going to communicate to that person? How are you going to train them if they have some skills you need to train them on that they don't know that you do, that you need them to know in order to take over for you? How are you going to go through that process with them? What's the timeline on that? And what are you going to do first, second, third? So you just come up with a loose plan. Usually you can document it in one Word document or an Excel spreadsheet or something, but make sure you set expectations as to what that plan is and how you're going to bring that person in to succeed you once you get promoted to the next level. And then the third step here is you want to talk to that person, obviously, and say, hey, guess what? I've identified you to be my successor. So I want to work with you on the succession plan I have for you to take over me at one point, because chances are really high that I'm going to be promoted very soon and I need you to take over for me. Would you agree to that? So you want to seek their agreement. Make sure it's okay with them. Like, the last thing you want to do is develop a plan that involves somebody else and you don't tell them. And then when the time comes, they're like, I don't want your job. Like, find that out first, right? Seek agreement and make sure that they agree with your plan and that they actually want to do your job. Because to your surprise and amazement, sometimes the people you think that would be the perfect successor for you is the person that doesn't not want your job at all. That's the last thing they want. And you assumed that they did. So that's a very subconscious thing, that assuming and kind of wishing and having a bias unconsciously that this person is perfect for my, and of course they're going to want my job. Of course they want to take over for me. Don't assume that. Don't fall into that trap. Don't let that bias take over. Be explicit. Ask them, get agreement, make sure they understand the timing, that they're ready, and that you can get them ready and make them feel comfortable and safe at a conscious and a subconscious level, that by the time the time comes around that they're going to succeed you, that they're ready for it and that they're able to do it and they're comfortable to succeed you, okay? And that you're going to support them all the way. Even when you move to the new role, you're still going to support them. You got to have that in your plan as well as how you're going to overlap with them and make sure they succeed you and that they're comfortable in the role for a while before you kind of back off and start doing your new job. So you have to bake that into your plan, make sure that they agree to that as step 3. Step 4 is then you want to share that plan with the leaders. So all of your leaders that are expecting this plan, expecting the successor, you need to share that. They're looking for you to share that plan, and know that you've talked to that person, that person has agreed, that everything is cool, and that even though you may not be telling everybody else on the team or other people in the rest of the company, at least the leaders and you and that person understand the plan of how when they promote you, then you're going to promote them. Now, if you're part of a multi-shift, multi-promotion where your boss is asking you for your successor plan, then you probably also want to know what the plan is when you succeed them, what their plan is for supporting you in your new role too. So sometimes it'll be like 2 or 3 people will all move up together. Like if they're like here, they'll move up to the next row, but you got to make sure that the plan is understood downstream as well as your plan upstream for your new role to make sure you're comfortable and safe taking over for your boss or whoever or whatever role you're taking over, that you're succeeding for someone else. So believe it or not, this does happen, and there's sometimes these multi-level changes like this, and it's all part of a design, and you have to figure out the communication plan. How are you going to tell the team? When are you going to tell certain people on the team that this is happening? And it's called the communication plan you need to come up with to make sure everyone feels safe and comfortable with the changes. No one is caught off, no one is surprised, because that just creates confusion and mystery, and at a subconscious level, no one feels safe when that happens, and you typically will tip the scale towards people wanting to leave. And you don't want that to happen. You want them to stay, and you want to know that they have a place that's safe, that everything is planned and it's good and nobody's in jeopardy. No one needs to worry about anything. So you want to be able to share that plan with the leaders and figure out the communication plan. Then you want to execute on your plan, meaning you want to go ahead and follow through with the plan. Follow through on the communication plan, make sure everybody knows, start executing the steps of training that person. If the person above you is, you're succeeding them, so they should be working with you on the plan and training you, and then everyone's working on their plan, executing towards this eventual everyone getting, shifting upward in the organizational chart and making the changes. Okay, so that's the ideal way to do it. These are the 5 steps I typically follow and I think about when I'm working on my successorship. And I know this helps you open your mind. It opens your mind right now to the idea of successorship, and that if you want to get promoted within a company, especially a large company, you need to have your successorship plan ready to go, and you need to follow these steps to be successful with your successorship so you can get promoted, make more money, have more responsibilities, and grow in your career.
Thank you for watching. I know you find value in these videos, didn't you? Now, if you, like me, are in a customer-facing role, you want to get better every day at what you do, but you don't have to watch another video if you don't want to.